Well, thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Christian Pann. I'm the Director of Music here at Waxhaw United Methodist Church, and I'm so glad you all could be here tonight. If you'll excuse me, I'll get my cue cards out here. First things to start out, I would like everybody to know that if you do need to use the restroom, it's going to be down the hallway right before you hit the stairs, and try to move around between pieces if possible. And also, please silence your cell phones. We don't want any extra musical additions to our program this evening. So starting everything out, well, first of all, that was the Jesus Loves Me medley by Rob Diaz. And starting out, I'd like to invite our guest performer tonight, Sally Rogers Laney. So I'd like to invite you forward.
When Frank called and asked if I would come, I really thought he'd lost his mind. I am very simple, very easy. I started playing here probably in 1960, I think it was, and I played till probably 1967. And the same people every week came to choir practice. I can see a couple of people, but not a whole lot from that period of time. But anyway, it's nice to be here and nice to see everyone. And this piano is phenomenal. It is Wilma's Soul. The next one I'm going to play is People Need the Lord. close with Amazing Grace.
Well, thank you, Sally. I do appreciate you being able to come and play for us this evening. I'd like to kind of tell everybody a little bit about the whole process of transitioning to this brand new piano. We started a campaign back in September where we asked the congregation to, pray about it and give towards this if they felt this was something that was weighing on their heart that would be important for the church. And I got to say, the outcome, the support for this project was, it was immense. It was crazy. We raised over $15,543 for this, and we had enough extra. We were able to even buy a brand new keyboard for our fellowship hall, which we have 2 services that we do in there, our 9:30 Sunday service and our Saturday service that Charles leads at 6:30. And it's been a great asset to that. And so through all that, we received that amount through over 48 different contributions. So I would like to go ahead and thank everybody who gave towards that, and with my sincere, I just can't even speak. I do enjoy that everybody has embraced this. So next up, I'd like to introduce our church accompanist, John Callis. And if you ever get to know him, he's a very interesting person. He has had loads of experience in music, and so I'd like to invite John Callis forward to kind of give us his story and his music. So come on, John.
Guess I got to live up to that, huh? Well, I'm guessing if you're here tonight, you love music. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. And I like to have fun. You too? Yes. Well, let's have some fun then. I'm going to let my hair down. Oh, wait. That ship sailed a while ago. Do you remember having your children 3-4 years old? How annoying they were. Cute. Yeah, they were cute. But they were annoying. And what did they do? They always repeated you. You remember that stage? Where no matter what somebody said, they repeated it? And how annoying was that, huh? Well, educators take advantage of that stage, that developmental stage. And you've probably heard of the Suzuki method. Before that was the Yamaha method. Seems like the Japanese got it before we did, course, here in the United States, we've got several programs that take advantage of that developmental stage as well, where they teach kids music, and they teach them how to copy. So they're basically teaching them by rote. And I took a Yamaha class at 4 years old. And, teacher's in front of class, and she shows us a keyboard, and she shows us a note on the staff. We have no idea what it is. It looks like a little black dot, But she begins to play, and we mimic. We take advantage of that developmental stage. And, so after week 1, I could play Three Blind Mice. Not quite like that, but I got in trouble playing that in college. I was at a basketball game, and I was at the organ, and the refs made a couple bad calls, and, they gave me some dirty looks. I don't know why. I still don't get it. But anyway, I took to the piano. It found me, and we had one at home, and my sister was studying and struggling with it and not enjoying it, and picked up flute later and flourished with that. But I picked up the piano, and she got very irritated with me in about a year's time, because I was playing her lessons before she was. And finally my dad said, "Okay, it's time to get you good instruction." And he found an NYU professor, New York University professor in the area, and got me lessons. What I didn't realize was going to come with those lessons was music theory lessons. I'm 6 years old. And the old German textbook by Richter. And I'm learning chord progressions and intervals. There's a minor second, there's a major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, right? Oh, that's bad. That's a bad interval. That's the tritone, or augmented fourth, or diminished fifth, or it has another name called the devil in music. Yeah, and then the perfect fifth, and the minor sixth, and then, of course, the major sixth. And you learn to hear these things. So there's your sixth, right? And the old Gillette jingle. There's the minor seventh. And then major seventh, that just sounds like it has tension in it. It's trying to be an octave, and it can't be. And there's your perfect octave, And of course, I learned these intervals, and I'm 6, 7, 8 years old, and everywhere I go, I'm hearing sounds, and I'm hearing intervals, and I'm starting to think maybe I'm a little weird, Later on, when I was working in Manhattan, worked in Manhattan for about 12 years. Took the train into Penn Station, and just trying to find something here real quick. I came into Penn Station and through and up by Madison Square Garden and up the steps and onto 33rd Street by 7th Avenue, and all I hear is a bunch of major thirds. And every now and then an import, and you hear these things, and I still hear them. I'm hearing things all the time, but all this wonderful, wonderful music theory was a tremendous foundation for musical understanding. And of course, being able then to do the figured bass for all of the different chord progressions. I'd take a Bach invention and script out beneath it what chords Bach was using, you know. And I made money doing that in later years. I taught music theory, introduction to music theory, advanced music theory, ear training, sight singing, and form and analysis in several schools. And I don't think I would have ever been able to do it if I didn't learn it at that age. But what I learned from that music theory, and the reason I go through some of this is to show you some of my formative years in music in particular. I learned to really appreciate the art of music and what good music is. And I may have turned into a bit of a musical snob, because every time I heard junk music, okay, let's say, oh, parallel fourths, parallel fifths, parallel octaves, that's wrong. You can't write music like that, you know. And it's most of the music we hear every day, wherever we go. For example, Christmas time comes. Whoops, let's go back to piano. Let's see here. All right. Sounds great, right? Nice tune. 3 chords. That's it. Remember the Carpenters back in the 70s? Karen had such a wonderful voice. And, you know, the melodies are good. The melodies were what hook you. You know, it's kind of like eating a potato chip. The salt, it hooks you, you know. But, you know. Now, 3 chords. That's it. That's all it is. But the melody's catchy. And the words, you know, are sentimental mush, you know. And, yeah. So, it grabs people. But the instant gratification of it is really probably, like with junk food, what is most appealing. A work of art, the more you look at it, the more incredible it is. But when you're looking at, like you see that guy on television every so often doing those brushstroke drawings, you know, the closer you get, the uglier it is. True? Yeah. Anyway, I'm a musical snob. I'll wear that badge. I'll wear it well. And that's why, though. I have all that built into me at a very, very young age. Of course, my grandfather was a pastor. My father was a pastor. And the church was beckoning. And at 8 years old, my dad said, I think it's time for you to start playing in church. And I was excited. So, oh, this is going to be fun. I get to sit up front and, you know, 8-year-old, you know. I'll never forget, first service, song is called out, The Light of the World is Jesus. Anybody know it? I began to embellish, because that's what a church pianist does. And I began to study and listen and add chord progressions into the hymns and the gospel songs that we would sing. Now, mind you, I grew up in a Pentecostal church, and our worship was kind of like the old shouting Methodists. You don't know about them, but study it sometime. Very extemporaneous. And people would start to sing a song. And there I was at the piano. Okay, what do I do? Well, Bob Borowski starts Trust and Obey, but he starts it in the wrong key. In fact, he starts it in 6 sharps. What do? You learn how to play it, right? And you learn how to hear it. And with time, I began to be able to hear what every key sounded like. And people would start singing songs in crazy keys and just go and play it. And the nice thing about this instrument is I could push a button and transpose. Knock it down a couple of keys. Like last week, Willis wanted to sing Nearer My God to Thee, but the key was too high. Well, I could have just pushed a button, but it was easier for me to, just move it down a couple of keys. Not a big deal. But that was part of my training. And then I went to hear a man by the name of Rudy Atwood. Now, Rudy Atwood played piano for the old-fashioned revival hour on family radio, syndicated family radio. And that's going back into the 50s and the 60s. Yeah, before I was born, but then in the 70s and the 80s. And Rudy had a very unique style, and I studied it. And I went to hear him play a concert at Hawthorne Bible House, Bible Church, I should say, in Hawthorne, New Jersey. And I listened intently. And what I've learned that he did is he basically would start off when, first verse of a hymn with what we call stride piano. So, he would just stride, Then the second verse, he would break the chords. Third verse, or the last verse, he would just start to run the bass. And so I began to work on that, and I incorporate that into church accompanying. And I listened to others as well, and incorporated aspects that I thought were useful. And over the course of many years, that has all evolved and learned things from different people. 8 years old, though, was a benchmark year for me. Not only did I start playing in church, I memorized a 72-page Beethoven piano concerto. Now, don't ask me how. I don't know. Memory. Some people just memory comes easy. Okay, for others, it's a chore. I've never taken Prevagen. Okay, Diet Coke. That's all that works for me. But memorization just came easy to me, and I was able to memorize that. And then my dad was a little enraptured with all of this, and I remember driving with him one day. We were in the front of a Plymouth Fury station wagon. I was in the front seat. I was too young to be up there by today's standards. No seatbelts, of course, And I was sitting up there, and I remember we were driving, and I could still remember where we were. And he said to me, "What do you think, John? Do you want to pursue piano as a career? Do you want to be in Carnegie Hall? Do you want to pursue that?" And I said, "No, I just want to play for Jesus." And maybe that was a naive answer from an 8-year-old boy who was a pastor's kid. Maybe, but out of the mouth, confession is made, and it was a formative moment for me. And I've always had that in my mind, that everything I do is for the glory of God. And now that doesn't mean you can't go to Carnegie Hall and play for the glory of God. Of course you can. But I didn't have that aspiration. And the more I met top quality musicians, the more weird I thought they were. And I don't want to be like that. I wanted to play ball. I wanted to work on cars. I wanted to do all the normal things that a boy growing up would do. And if I could play piano at a high level, that's just another thing I can do. Wonderful. Let's do it all for the glory of God. And I progressed several years, and then John Nogi, my first piano instructor, died. And my dad found another instructor. And you want to talk about weird. This guy was weird. He was a strange duck, but he knew music. I mean, he was really out there. But the first thing he did after he listened to me play was he gave me a stool that sat about 12 inches off the ground. And he said, "For the next 3 months, all we're going to do is this. I'm sitting down on the ground, and we're doing..." And on and on and on. And what he found was that my hand position wasn't exactly where it should be, and he wanted to get it in a place where everything flowed naturally. And he wanted my fingers to have their own strength, finger independency. Every finger in your hand has its own tendon, except for these two. These two share one. 4 and 5 share a tendon. And so a lot of times when you start playing, you get a flying pinky because this fourth one's going down and this one's going up. And if you're going to master piano, you've got to master your fingers. You've got to have full control over them. So he totally redid my technique, and it was tedious, but it yielded results. And I grew technically very, very strong. And I was working on a Beethoven sonata, the Waldstein Sonata, which is not an easy piece of music. And I was kind of limping along with it. And one day, this was 6th grade, 12 years old, I came home and I said, "Dad, I really want to get a pair of Puma, Walt Clyde Frazier Pumas." And he was used to taking me to the Grant's department store and getting sneakers for me for $2.99, you know. But a couple of my friends at school, we liked to play a lot of ball together, a lot of basketball, and I wanted a pair of those sneakers. They were $24.95. That was a lot of money back then. That's 1974. You don't have to do the math. I'm 60 years old. Okay. But $24.95, that was sticker shock for my dad. He said, I'll tell you what, you memorize that Waldstein Sonata, you get it right, and you'll get your sneakers. Well, 10 days later, I said, okay, Dad, let's go to the sporting goods store. Let's go. I got it. I don't remember all 32 pages, but I do remember a good bit of it. I'm just going to play for you the first 4 pages tonight. It's not easy, but I still remember it pretty well, I think. Let's see. Let's just go here for a second. All right. Well, that's the first 4 pages there. But a little rusty, but I love Beethoven, always have. Just kind of fit my personality. I studied with Renan de Camp for about 4 years, and then I studied with a Juilliard professor, and then it was time to go off to college. And I went to the King's College, Briarcliff Manor, New York, Christian Liberal Arts College, studied piano performance, which probably was a mistake, but you know the difference between a pizza and a music major? Pizza can feed a family of 5. Yeah. 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 Music's a tough business to make money in, unless you're at the very top or an educator. Educators do okay, but 2% of the music business makes 98% of the money, and the other 98% make 2% of the money. And it's a tough gig. But I went off to King's and studied with another Juilliard professor there who immediately wanted to change my hand position and my technique. And I looked at her and I said, I don't know where you learned that, but it's wrong. On top of it, she was kind of enigmatic, and she wanted me to be expressive. And wait a second, I'm German. Do you understand that? I'm German. I don't do that stuff. Okay? I'm stoic. I'm quiet. I don't need all the fanfare and the fluff. And I quickly changed and took instruction with Manhattan School of Music professor Tom Biggs, and I did well there. But the best part of my undergrad work was I became the personal pianist for the president of the college, Dr. Robert A. Cook. Dr. Robert A. Cook had a tremendous radio ministry and itinerant ministry, and he spoke all over, up and down the East Coast, and I got to travel with him. And what a man. We were talking about prayer this morning, and we even practiced one-sentence prayers. And you know, that man had that down. We were in Bibletown in Boca Raton, Florida, small arena, maybe 2,000, 3,000 people in the arena. And I was playing piano there for him. And after the service, there's this line of people that just come. They want to talk to Bob Cook. His radio ministry had 15-minute spots every morning on family radio. He always opened with, "How in the world are you?" And he always closed with, "Walk with the King today and be a blessing." But as people came by, they would tell him their problems or tell him about, "Oh, please pray for my son." And he would stop. One sentence prayer. "Now just believe. God bless you, sister." Next. But it was sincere. And that man made a great impression on my life, both for ministry and obviously for the music opportunities I got. Dr. Cook always wanted to finish his service with the Lord's Prayer. And he spoke in chapel at college every second Friday, and he would always call down to the music building. "Make sure John is there. I need him to play the Lord's Prayer." And in my pastorate, 18 years in Morristown, New Jersey, after we served the Lord's Supper every first Sunday of each month, we would always close our service with the Lord's Prayer. I've played this a few times. You've heard it. This is my own arrangement of Malat's Lord's Prayer. love that. A couple other things that happened while I was in my college years. I met a fella, a student, who, African-American fella, who used to hop churches on Sundays and play in about 5 different African-American churches. And he introduced me to gospel. Now, I'm not talking about Southern gospel. I'm talking about black gospel, okay? Which, by its roots, came out of the jazz movement in New Orleans and Memphis and basically the Mid-South. The only problematic thing with gospel music is that its roots came out of the nightclub, because the same musicians that were playing in nightclubs on Saturday night were playing in churches on Sundays. Okay? Now, as a pastor, I'd have a problem with that, but the music was incredible. And Peter taught me a whole bunch of different things about black gospel, and I grew to love it. And not all of it, but some of the more traditional stuff in particular. And the slow gospel that kind of has a little rhythm and blues flavor to it, and occasionally some of the faster stuff as well. I'll just give you a couple snippets of some of the things that I've worked up over the years. First will be a slow one, kind of in a rhythm and blues sound. The song being Softly and Tenderly. You know that song, right? Will Thompson wrote it. Now, Will Thompson wrote that song for Moody's campaigns, for all of his services, his evangelistic services. And Moody, of course, was the predecessor to Billy Graham here in this country. Big campaigns, evangelistic campaigns, and people walking the sawdust trail and coming to Christ. But if you go back to the early part of the 19th century, Charles Finney was really the first person in church history to use means. I use the word means in a theological sense. That is coercion, man-made pressure, if you will, to get people to make a decision for Christ. Now, sometimes they would use persuasion. Sometimes they would use emotion. And that's where the musical piece comes in. Will Thompson was about to die. He's on his deathbed. And he lamented to Moody, "Mr. Moody, if only I could have preached half of the sermons that you might have preached, I might have felt a success." And Moody retorted, "Will, if I could have just written Softly and Tenderly, I would have felt like a success." Because that song moved so many people to make a decision for Christ, just as I Am has for the Billy Graham crusade. But Softly and Tenderly came 50, 60 years before Just As I Am in the evangelistic circuits, if you will. So here's a little Softly and Tenderly, but with a little bit of a gospel feel to it. Softly and tenderly, my Jesus is calling, calling for you and for me. See on the portals he's awaiting and watching for you and for me. Come home, you better come home. Ye who are weary, come home. Earnestly, tenderly, my Jesus is calling, calling, oh sinner, come home. And on it goes, but when you start mixing in jazz chords, the harmonies just get so rich. And the vocal quality of the African-American voice is clearly different than that of the Caucasian voice. Okay? Nothing racist about that. That's just a fact. I can't replicate that sound. I simply can't. But I can replicate the music. Something a little more upbeat. Take off of What a Friend We Have in Jesus. Oh, don't tell me I've got a friend in Jesus without showing me first I've got a friend in you. Ooh, I have heard you're supposed to be like him. Oh, would you do for me what Jesus himself would do? Anyway, that's fun stuff. But I sat in a lot of concerts over the years, and towards the end of my years at King's, blind artist came, Christian artist, a man by the name of Ken Miedema. And he was a mix of classically trained, gospel, and excellent vocals. Completely blind, but he could play anything on the piano. Now, I can play the piano without looking at it most of the time. I can't imagine having to do that all the time. But he was able to do it. And among the things that captured me, besides the classical training, which I always respect in a musician, he did an album of stories, Bible stories, in ballad form. Now, a ballad is just that. It's a story. And he did a mix. Again, there's some classical elements in these things and Bible stories, and always with a good point at the end. I'm going to close my time with you with one of those stories, Ken Miedema. The title is Sitting by the Window Praying. In keeping with our Saturday morning seminar. Sitting by the window praying. This is the story of Ananias and Saul. Like the music? Schubert wrote a lot of this, called lieder. It's just another word for song. Sitting by the window praying, waiting for the break of day. Sitting by the window praying, waiting to hear what the Lord might say. Sitting by the window praying, oh, waiting for the break of Ananias. I went to the door, but there was no one there at all. Oh well, it's mighty early, maybe I'm hearing things. I'll try again. Went back to sit by the window praying, waiting for the break of day. Sitting by the window praying, waiting to hear what the Lord might say. Sitting by the window praying, oh, waiting for the break of Ananias. I went to the door once more, and there was no one there at all. All right, if this is some kind of practical joke, you might as well forget it. But on the other hand, remember Samuel? Went back to sitting by the window praying, waiting for the break of day. Sitting by the window praying, waiting to hear what the Lord might say. Sitting by the window praying, oh, waiting for the break of Ananias. Yes, Lord. Well, go right down to Straight Street. Make no delay at all. Okay. And there in a house on Straight Street, yes, there you'll find a man whose name is Saul. Don't you know that he's got orders from Jerusalem? Put us all in jail. Don't you know that he intends to ride us out of town on a rail? Don't you know that he's got orders from the powers in Jerusalem? But you know all that, and you want me to go still? Well, I went right down to Straight Street. I made no delay, that is almost no delay at all, except I stopped to buy a bagel with some lox and a good schmear. And when I got to the house on Straight Street, I found the man named Saul. Would you care to guess how I found him? He was sitting by the window praying, waiting for the break of day. Sitting by the window praying, waiting to hear what the Lord might say. Before I could think, I opened my mouth. Before I could think, the first thing I said was, Brother Saul. Hey, did you hear that? I called him brother. I called my enemy brother. I still got it, huh? Brother. And the scales came down from two pairs of eyes that day. Saul saw new life before him, and I, where it seemed an enemy before, now could see a friend. Open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Placing my hand the wonderful key, shall unclasp and set me free. Silently now I wait for thee. Ready, my God, thy will to see. Open my eyes, illumine me. Spirit May the Lord open our eyes. Thank you. Imagine if we could see, the way the Lord sees. What an amazing thing that would be, wouldn't it? Well, there's an awful lot of capability in this instrument, and we want to bring the focus back to that. Honky-tonk pianos, you know. Who put the piano out of tune? Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, or even worse, a saloon upright. I'm going to bring Christian in. We're going to do a duet. Use a school upright for this one. We good?
Glory to the Lord. Well, thank you, John. That was wonderful. You know, I hadn't heard all of that, and you know, there was a lot of that. I was just back there laughing in the corner. It was really cool. So in just a minute, I'm going to show you a lot of the, I'm going to give a tour of the instrument and show you a lot of the other abilities that this instrument has. But I'd like to go ahead and play another piece for you. This is a piece by the French composer Claude Debussy, who was an impressionistic composer from the late 1800s, early 1900s. And so this is his Arabesque number 1. So I'd like to ask a question. This first one, a lot of people probably know, but how many keys does a piano have? 88. Now, hard question. How many strings does a piano have?
200. I mean, what?
How many strings?
I don't have any.
Well, a typical piano has around 230 strings in it. And earlier on today, I got to thinking, there's about 18 different pianos in there, and about 24 different guitars and violins, and so this piano may have over 4,000 strings. Who knows? But given that it doesn't, I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a tour, and I'm going to pull up. If I can get this to work, let's see. See? Yeah, there we go. Say hi, everybody. So, I know instead of strings, we have some conveniently placed speakers. Kind of in the various regions of the high strings and the low strings. And it's amazing what you can replicate from this, being that it's digital, and it's amazing. So this instrument is made by Yamaha. It's a Japanese company. They're pretty well known for their acoustic pianos, but also their electronic instruments. So taking that experience from both and melding it together, we can get something like this, which is a fairly compact unit, but you get these wonderful piano sounds. I mean, you heard what John was playing earlier. But I would like to kind of demonstrate some of the other things that it does. So not only does it replicate, good piano, but it also has a whole band inside of it. It's got a style section which has various styles of drums. You can get from all throughout the years through various parts of the world. If you want a bossa. If you want a bossa type sound, you get nice Latin bossa. But you also get some fantastic, like rock kits. And as I was going through this earlier, it made me think of something. And some pretty popular band from the 80s. I mean, even today, So, it's kind of cool. If you've been with us on Sunday, I have used some of this ability to do some more modern worship songs, and since we don't have a lot of space or instrumentalists to do that kind of stuff. Another thing that I have found fascinating that Yamaha has put a lot of time and energy into is some of your woodwind, brass, other stringed instruments. I find the little nuances you get with, I have a guitar here, and if you were to close your eyes, you almost wouldn't think it was being played on a keyboard. So another fascinating instrument that I have found is really fun to play on a keyboard is the clarinet. So that got me thinking. In college, I got together with about 3 other guys, and we formed a little jazz combo. And I get together with them occasionally here and there, but that's kind of lit my passion for jazz, which I'm not really that good at, but I enjoy playing it. So I'd like to. Another thing that this piano does is it has an audio accompaniment. So I can feed it chords with one hand, and it'll have the whole band going, and I can play clarinet the other hand. So I'd like to play a song made famous by Benny Goodman, a clarinet player. This is Stomping Out the Savoy. So I'd like to close out with a bit of organ. When we looked at getting this new instrument to modernize this worship space, one of the things we wanted it to still be able to do is to do a reasonable job at organ. So I thought, what better piece to end the night than some Bach. He wrote some wonderful organ, and so this is Bach's Toccata in D minor. If anybody's wondering, it's just the toccata. I found the fugue was too hard for me to play. Thank you, John. And I'd like to leave this as an opportunity. If you want to come up and see it up close, you're welcome to. And I can show you around a bit. Other than that, I thank you for joining us tonight and have a wonderful evening.